Hey guys, Morktorkus here. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Sivir, one of the new champions coming to Shurima in the new Empires of the Ascended expansion for Legends of Runeterra. Very cool looking card, so let's just dive right in and check it out. So Sivir is a 4-mana 5/3 with Quick Attack and Spell Shield. That Spell Shield is definitely very relevant, and with Quick Attack it means that generally speaking, Sivir is going to be very safe on the attack. Her level up is you've dealt 35 plus damage. This does not require her to have seen the damage. So, 35 sounds like a lot. But over the course of the game, if you are playing spells, hitting their face, all this kind of stuff, it doesn't take too long to level her up. She's most likely not leveled up by 4, but by turn 6, I think it would be very likely that by then she will have leveled up. Especially, you can level her up during your attack, and then her level up activation would suddenly give her upside to all of your units. So her level up is a 6/4, and while I'm attacking allies have my keywords. So yeah, like I said, if you attack with her, I think if you had a 5 attack unit in the front before Sivir, and then you hit with it, and then she had 30 damage already, having been dealt, then I think she would flip, and then all of your allies would then have the keywords, because it's not an attack effect, it is while I'm attacking. I could also see that meaning that when she dies, they all lose the keywords as well, which, it is a little bit of a downside. If it's not an attack effect, it is kind of this aura effect, which is a little, there's an upside to it, there's a downside to it. If she still has her spell shield by then, though, then her dying there is very unlikely, and all your allies dying there is also very unlikely. This spell shield is so relevant, and I think it makes Sivir a really strong card. And I think this idea of giving keywords to your units is really great. If you're thinking about, Riven has been pretty good with it, but honestly, there's some new support for adding keywords in Shurima, which is probably a lot better than Riven, honestly, and that will have a lot of synergy with Sivir. So I think that will be one of the big things that Sivir is going to be able to do, and we're going to see how that works out. But yeah, I don't think the level up condition is as hard as people might think initially when they read that number. And even unleveled up, a 5/3 quick attack with spell shield is freaking nuts. I love it so much. So I think this is going to be a great addition to the Shuriman package. And then we have Reputation as a new keyword here on Ricochet, which is Sivir's champion spell. So Reputation means that you need to strike 4 times with units with 5 or more power. Clearly, they are trying to push Shurima and Noxus with this idea, because Noxus has always been known for having 5+ attack synergy. So it's not too hard to get this off. It will take a few turns for sure. Sivir is most likely going to be able to hit a couple times at least, just because Spell Shield means that she's quite safe. As long as you're attacking, and you're probably not going to be blocking with her. But at that point in the game, you probably don't need to be too worried about having to block a whole lot. And you'll have other units to block with as well. So in the right deck, Reputation can trigger pretty consistently. As long as your opponent isn't actively stopping you. But even if they are frostbiting you and removing your 5 attack units and all this kind of stuff, you're kind of slowing them down too to some degree. So even then, it's fine. At 6 mana, this isn't the greatest card ever. It is, 6 mana slow speed. It becomes 3 costs when you have the reputation, but it deals 1 to a random enemy or the enemy nexus 5 times. So without the reputation, or regardless of the reputation, if you play this and your opponent has no blockers or no units at all, then it means that you're dealing 5 to the nexus, which is better than Decimate. At 3 mana once you've had reputation, then it's only 3 mana for a better than Decimate if you have no enemies on board. If you do have enemies on board, like, it's still going to be pretty good. I think without the reputation, it's definitely a pretty trash card, but there is some huge synergy with Kegs and with Funsmith and all that. I could definitely see you trying to do some fancy things with Ricochet in a Keg deck in Bilgewater, because each Keg will buff every single dealing of the damage with this effect. That's 5 times that you're triggering it, which means that each Keg is literally adding 5 more damage, and that can quickly get pretty nuts. You do a more powder, and this is suddenly dealing 15 damage. Sure, it's split 5 ways, but that's still absolutely nuts. If they had 1 guy on board and it had 3 or less health, then that's still 12 face damage in that case. Like, just think about it. It's absolutely nuts, a Bilgewater synergy for that, for sure. And if you can pull off Funsmith, that's pretty cool, too. So yeah, it's got some potential. I like it. It maybe isn't as great in just this regular stuff, but it's not going to feel terrible with Sivir. It does help her level up, although by the time you trigger the reputation, I think it's also pretty likely that that she's already leveled by then too. But yeah, definitely a cool card. I think it's going to shine most with Bilgewater, but it'll have some impact when you do get it off of Sivir sometimes. Then we have Boomerang Blade, 7 mana slow speed spell. An ally strikes the strongest and weakest enemies. So it's really expensive, but in the right board state, this is going to be really, really nuts. You can have it fizzled pretty quick if your ally dies, but the best target for this really is Sivir, because if you go play Sivir on 4 and you play this on 5 with 2 spell mana up, then you can take out 2 units. You're dealing 10 damage towards her level up condition. You're getting 2 strikes towards reputation. And she has Spell Shield, which means they probably can't fizzle it either. So, honestly, there's a lot of synergy there. The archetype might be a little bit fast for you to be running something this slow, but I definitely think in some decks this will make a lot of sense. Like, this works great with Garen. This works great with Renekton, if you want to level Renekton with it. All kinds of stuff like that. Maybe you only run 1 copy or whatnot, but I think this is a lot better than people initially think it is, just looking at it. I think, you know, the thing with strongest and weakest on cards like this is if they were to try to fizzle it by removing their own unit, it actually switches targets. That's how gold card works. That's how all that kind of stuff works. So you can't even do something like single combat your big unit into my big unit, because I'll still kill your next strongest unit. And it's also questionable whether this strikes the same unit twice. If it's the same unit, if there's only 1, and it's the strongest and weakest on the board at the same time, I could definitely see it not doing that. I could see it only hitting it once. But it'd be pretty sweet if it hit it twice. So, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Whether it is going to be too expensive and can actually fit into a deck or not, it's going to come down to you know, the mana curve of the deck, just how heavy it is in the whole scheme of things. But I think specifically this, and also we're going to be looking at this card too. Ruin Runner is also a relatively large spell shield unit. Any of these large spell shield units are units that will make sure that your opponent can't stop you when you do the Boomerang Blade, because they won't have any way to answer you when you do it, and that's a really big deal. So, and I can't see you not running this in these kinds of decks either. So I think this will actually be a lot better than people think. I think this will be really, really sweet. And it's also another strike effect for Shurima, so maybe it helps Nasus level up as well. Then we have Payday, 2 mana focus spell, create a lucky find in hand. So we've already talked about focus in the past. Focus is gem speed, which means that you can play it before your attacks and so forth. You can play it on your turn at burst speed and still have an action, but you can't do it in reaction to anything. But the lucky finds, they are... oh, they don't show it on here. Well, either way, the lucky finds, they're 0 mana, fleeting spells, and they give you access to a lot of different keywords that you can grant to your allies, also at focus speed. So it's a fleeting 0-cost spell. You get 1 of them off of this, and you get 2 of them off of this Inner Sanctum. So basically, it's a keyword at like gem speed, and it could also give you +2 attack, +2 health, or +1/+1. There's Overwhelm, Fearsome Challenger, Spell Shield, lots of good stuff. This works super well with Sivir because of the spreading your keywords to other stuff. It works really well with stuff like maybe if you can do Lee Sin in Shurima, it would work really well with Lee Sin. It works really well with like Vi. If you use this with Vi, you get 2 triggers on her buffing herself, as well as maybe giving her Overwhelm, which is pretty sweet. Even giving her Fearsome or something against the right board would mean that you could put all of her stats at face, which is great. So I really like this card. You know, 2 mana might look like a bit much, but granting a keyword is a big, big deal. And even granting stats is also pretty sweet. You know, if it was at burst speed, it would be absolutely nuts. But at focus speed, yeah, that's definitely what they had to do to make sure it was balanced, because otherwise it'd be totally broken out of this world. But yeah, I like it a lot. I think you know, it kind of makes Riven go to shame a little bit, but you do have to spend some mana on it. It's more expensive than just having Riven and for stuff like triggering these things. But, you know, permanent versus this round is a big deal too. Then we have Waking Sands, 2 mana slow speed spell. Summon a Standstone Charger. So Standstone Charger is a 2 mana 5/2 ephemeral. This is obviously meant to help with reputation and the whole dealing 5 damage at a time thing. It's also kind of ephemeral synergy, I guess. But I really don't think it's worth it. Like, it's just going to get blocked by a 1/1 or whatnot. And I don't think you care that much about dealing 5 damage and helping your reputation game plan that you're going to be playing such a unimpactful card. There's so many better options if you're playing like an ephemeral deck. If you're playing... like, we're going to be getting all the Azir stuff, and just doing the Sand Soldier stuff's going to be better in that case. And if you're doing an ephemeral Shadow Isles deck, they got way better stuff. So, like, I really don't think it's worth for the Reputation archetype, and I don't think it's worth for the Ephemeral archetype. So I don't think it's worth for any archetype, really, if you think about it. So, don't think so. Nobody's going to play this card. Inner Sanctum, 3 mana landmark, and reputation that costs 0. And then countdown 1, create 2 lucky finds in hand. So it's at 3 mana, it's pretty weak. It's kind of a delayed payday. You are paying 2 for payday, but I think the payday is a little overcosted. If it was at a wait a whole turn, you'd probably pay that for pay 1 for that effect. But in this case, you are getting 2 lucky finds. But once it costs 0, that is really, really good. You don't get the keywords immediately, but you will get the keywords the next turn. You probably play this the turn before you go in for an open attack, because you can still play both the lucky finds at the beginning of the turn before you attack. And, you know, countdown 1, it's basically only delaying you just until the next turn. So that's like kind of the perfect situation. It's just you play it right before your open attack the next turn. And 2 lucky finds is a big deal. That's a lot that you can get out of that. Potentially giving like 2 things Overwhelm, giving something Challenger, all these kinds of things. Giving Spell Shield to your really important unit. So yeah, I think in a Reputation deck, a Sivir deck, this probably makes a lot of sense. Outside of that, I want to say it won't. I think 3 is a bit too expensive if you don't think you're going to be triggering the Reputation. But I think if you really want these lucky finds, you might do it. But I think in other decks, the Payday will do the job. You can just run Payday if you need the lucky finds in your deck. I think this is going to strictly be a Reputation card. Just because that's a bit too expensive, I'd say. Bit too expensive. Then we have Sandswept Tomb, 5 mana landmark. When allies attack, summon an attacking Sandstone Charger. So it's kind of nice getting a Sandstone Charger every time you attack, but it's not a huge deal. Again, this is big attack power for sure, but it can be blocked by a 1/1, easy peasy. And this is a big investment. I think landmark removal is going to be somewhat prevalent in this coming expansion, given how many landmarks are going to be everywhere. Not all of them are like long-term effects like this one. A lot of them will have a countdown. But even then, I think it's still going to want some landmark removal. And certainly, if the mono Shurima Sundisc deck is popular, there's no way that people won't have landmark removal left and right to make sure that they keep that deck down. So playing this and getting nothing out of it immediately is pretty rough. If this Sandstone Charger is worth 2 mana, which, you know, debatably it's not worth 2 mana, then playing 5 mana to get it really, really sucks. And that means that if you play this during your turn you're about to attack, first of all, it's stopping you from getting your open attack. Maybe you play it the turn before you go in for an open attack, and maybe that makes a little bit more sense. But, like, if you're valuing this at 2 mana, then that means you need 3 attacks before it's worth. That is 6 rounds, basically, like, 5 rounds, because you have your attack round. Well, if you develop it the turn before your attack, that's a round. Then your next round is the attack where you get to attack with it. Then you wait around. Then you attack with it. Then you wait around. Then you attack with it. That's when you're finally feeling like it was worth playing. And that's like you're attacking on turn 6. That means that you're getting full value on like turn 10. Like, God, that sounds terrible. You know what's a lot better? If you want to do this a bunch in an ephemeral synergy deck, Shark Chariot. Shark Chariot you play for 2 mana, and then you get it back anyways. Even if you don't have a landmarks that actually survived, you still get your Shark Chariot back forever every time an ephemeral attacks. So in a ephemeral synergy deck, definitely doesn't make any sense. In a reputation deck, I don't think you're that desperate for it. Again, it really doesn't make any sense. Hopefully by now you've already been triggering your reputation, because you've played a few 5 attack units, maybe have some strike effects going on. So you should be finishing your reputation around turn 5, 6 anyways. So yeah, I think this is absolute trash. I don't think you're going to play this card. You're not going to be doing anything with Standstone Chargers. Forget this even exists. This is a fake card. It doesn't exist. Not going in anything. And then we have the followers. You have Callous Bone Crusher, 4 mana, 6/3, reputation cost 2. At 4 mana, not worth, I don't think. It has no keywords. I mean, maybe with this whole giving things keywords thing, maybe you get to give it Overwhelm at one point, but that's like the only keyword you really care to use with it anyways. Maybe you give it Challenger and it kills something. But 3 health is really rough. It'll die to a lot of things. At 2 mana, obviously it's a lot better. So maybe if you have a lot of draw in your deck and you trigger reputation pretty quick, then you intend to play this later on just to flood the board a bit more. But even then, I don't know if this is the best thing ever. If there might just be things that are worth more to you than trying to run this. So outside of a full reputation deck, no way. In a full-on reputation deck that's going to be triggering reputation by turn 5 or 6, maybe if you have enough card draw to make it worth it. Because even if you play it at 2 mana and it dies to a Get Excited or something of that sort, it's still they're paying more mana on it than you are, but it's still not a huge value discrepancy. But if you can go through your deck quickly and then get this out and a bunch of other copies of it and other stuff at the same time, then it'll feel a lot better, I think. You just don't want this to be like cheap and then, well, you don't really have much in your hand at that point because you've been flooding the board by then, and then, yeah. This, however, Ruin Runner, 5 mana, 6/4, Overwhelm and Spell Shield, freaking nuts. Freaking nuts. The Overwhelm archetype with Shurima is going to be great. With Renekton and Noxus. Clearly Shurima and Noxus have great synergy together. I think there will be a lot of different ways to build it, but I think this will go in there like every time. This works great with Sivir, works great with the vulnerable stuff that Shurima has, works great with lots of stuff. It might die pretty quick to blocks, but I mean, by then it's already dealt the damage, and the Spell Shield means that it's certainly going to be making it through, for sure. Oh yeah, Lucky Find. Spell Shield, Challenger, Fearsome, +2/+0, +1/+1, Quick Attack, +2 Health, Tough, and Overwhelm. So that's all the ones you can find off of Lucky Finds. Good to know on that front. There's 9 different options, which gives you a 30% chance of finding exactly what you need, generally speaking. If you do the landmark, then you get 2 chances on whatever you're looking for as well. So yeah, so this looks great. I like the package overall. A lot of this stuff. Definitely don't like the Sandstone Charger stuff though. But I think the reputation stuff looks interesting. We're going to see that LeBlanc has a decent amount of stuff on that front. But I think most of the power on that is going to come from Sivir. Sivir baseline is such a good unit and will definitely carry a lot of decks with that power that she has. So that's going to be it for this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below what you think of Sivir, reputation, and all the cool stuff coming to Shurima. And if you would like to see more of my content in the future, please subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.